That's my favorite theory.
And that's totally possible. I mean, you know, gravity and mass and wormholes, we don't fully understand the nature of energy and vortexes yet. So that's a really good possibility.
Yes, I think so. I mean, they're obviously fish from Earth. I mean, they come from Earth, and
yeah,
so they
maybe
must warp into something and then out again.
Right, yeah, unless it is from some other parallel existence, some other Earth or planet on the other side. Who knows? You know what? It's weird. I was just listening to a podcast this week, and one of their stories, their big focus was the raining of meat and blood.
Oh!
Yeah, and I was like, wow, this is a great story, because that's one I've never heard before. Now, mind you, I've heard the raining of blood. Actually, just recently in India, there was red rain.
Oh!
And it turned out that it turned out to be some kind of microorganism that emitted a red color.
Yes, and I think that can be entirely possible. There was one in England back in 1867, which was a red snow.
Right, yeah.
And it was outside Crystal Palace, and thousands of people saw it. But what they figure happened there was that the red snow actually never fell. The redness came to it from a microorganism that spread across it once it was on the ground.
Okay, right, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but they do get organs and bits of meat and liver and goodness knows what. And
I know, that really baffled me. You know what I thought of immediately when I heard that was the spaceship. I thought about the spaceships.
Right.
Some kind of crazy genetic experiment. I mean, everyone, I'm sure, has heard of cattle mutilations.
Oh, for sure.
Linda Moulton Howe, who is really big on that with Earth Sciences, from Earth Files, who coincidentally also is one of the major researchers for the Rendlesham incident that you spoke about there, Bentwaters. And you know, it makes sense that these things are picking up, whether it's military or spacecraft. That's the big question, from another planet or another existence, extraterrestrial.
It's certainly bizarre.
It seems to be some kind of big pickup, and then, you know, payload drop once it was finished with whatever it was doing.
Yeah. Like some kind of, like you say, experimentation or operations, dissecting things. Or...
It's like a waste dump.
Yeah. I mean, all hospitals have such a place, I guess. For
sure. And you know what makes me convinced kind of that whole theory of extraterrestrial dumping is the fact that some of these pieces of meat were analyzed, and some of them turned out to be bovine. So
really?
Right.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
There's a direct connection between cattle mutilation and a possible extraterrestrial involvement.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's really, really amazing nonetheless.
Well, yes, Justin, and actually what you've said there, it connects back to another story we did a little while ago about Snippy the horse.
Yeah.
And they never did find Snippy's organs.
Right.
So...
Maybe they were part of the dump.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Well, that's just great. I hope everybody out there in the radio world really enjoyed that. I know I did. That's one of my big fascination stories of childhood, is the raining of strange objects.
Right.
Why it happens all throughout history, no matter how far we've come, there always seems to be this strange rain of unknown origin. Sylvia, thanks for being with us again on the calendar of the paranormal. Let's do it again sooner than later.
Okay. I've enjoyed being here, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Sylvia. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. That, of course, is Sylvia Richards of Calendar of the Paranormal. I'm your host, Mr. Justin Brown, and you're listening to CKDU. Also on the internet, ckdu.ca. This is the 88.1 FM on your dial in beautiful and coastal Atlantic Canada. The only broadcast of its kind, the paranormal Expanding Consciousness Radio. The Green Gala, the annual Green Gala, will take place on April 1st, 2011 in the University Club Grand Hall from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. You're invited to this celebration of environmental studies, awareness, and action at Dalhousie. This gala will show off all the hard work that the Dalhousie students, staff, and faculty have done this school year and give us a chance to get together before the end of the school year. So come on out and see what groups like EPSS, Sustain Dal, DSUSO, and the Loaded Ladle have been up to. Check out the artwork done by a first-year sustainability students. Get your photo taken with your friends at our photo booth and celebrate with us. Entrance is free and snacks are provided. There will be a bar accepting cash only. So check that out, 6:30 to 9:30, April 1st, 2011. The Urban Farm Museum of Spryfield is holding its 13th annual Seedy Saturday on April 2nd from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Captain William Spry Community Center, 10 Kidston Road, Halifax. This popular event is for new and experienced gardeners of all ages. Swap and buy seeds, pick up seaweed compost, and other organic supplies from experts from one of many of the seed and plant ventures, or take advantage of the free gardening advice from the experts. Enjoy Kids Corner, displays, heirloom seeds, and more. Admission is free. For more information or to book a table, contact Jean 477-2933 or email jphwhite@novascotia.simpatico.ca. Out of the Cold shelter is looking for more volunteers. It's a volunteer and community-driven shelter for the homeless operating at St. Matthew's Church, 1479 Barrington Street, and there is an immediate need for evening and early morning volunteers. If you can help, please contact Jordan Roberts, Out of the Cold Shelter, volunteer coordinator. Email him at volunteerotcs@gmail.com. It's a good cause. People need us. Be the spark. You're listening to the Unified Field. I'm your host, Mr. Justin Brown, and this is Chili Gonzalez.
Don't touch that dial. An alternate reality awaits.
You are now entering the unified field.
Hi, this is Alejandro from Open Minds Magazine, and you're listening to the Unified Field.
I'm Adrian Erickson.
Yes, we've already heard you, Adrian Erickson, and the Bigfoot story. Thanks for being with us again in the Unified Field. We got to get to all these clips because we're running out of time. There's always a lot to talk about. We are going to start with some Audio Zone music, and then our virtual IUFOC Congress here on the Unified Field. Email me at unifiedfieldradio@gmail.com and send your questions, concerns, or if you want to help out the show somehow or donate, just email me. Send us to conferences, do whatever you like, get on board, maybe become a contributor, a writer, or researcher, get involved as a volunteer, and help change the world one spark at a time. This is the International UFO Congress Year in Review.
Around this time last year, stories on a batch of UFO files released by the British government were making headlines. The UK began releasing their UFO files in May of 2008, and although they closed down their UFO hotline in December of 2009, their UFO file releases continue to make headlines and intrigue the public. In this batch, several stories were popular. One regarded a scientist who claimed that his grandfather was a bodyguard for Winston Churchill and had overheard a conversation about UFOs in which Churchill stated that, quote, "This event should be immediately classified since it would create mass panic among the general population and destroy one's belief in the church," end quote. Another one was about a meeting between UK intelligence chiefs regarding UFOs, and a lighter story made the rounds about some people who wanted the UK government to settle a bet regarding whether alien life existed. A UK story that has made headlines all year long is a continuing saga of UFO hacker Gary McKinnon. Facing extradition to the United States for hacking into military computers, looking for information on UFOs and free energy, McKinnon's case has been caught up in a legal battle. In early 2010, McKinnon's case was to be re-reviewed by the Home Secretary, a review which is yet to come. In the meantime, celebrities such as Pink Floyd's David Gilmour and Sting, as well as most of the British Parliament, have taken on the McKinnon case as a battle against U.S. heavy-handedness in the UK. President Obama was even asked to comment during a recent visit from the Prime Minister, David Cameron. Obama pledged to find an appropriate solution.
In my opinion, if aliens are here, I suspect the newspapers would be full of the story.
In April of 2010, a documentary about the work of famous scientist Stephen Hawking called Into the Universe included a comment by Hawking that interacting with aliens could be dangerous, similar to the Native Americans' interactions with Europeans. This created a furor, especially among ufologists who disagreed. Even cosmologists such as Michio Kaku and Paul Davies made comments on television shows such as Larry King disagreeing with Hawking's opinion. They felt that if a society could survive a stage such as we are in, with the technology to destroy ourselves, but able to have the wisdom not to self-destruct, then they must be beyond warlike behavior. In May of 2010, the French aerospace community re-established their openness to UFO research in a report by the French Aeronautical and Astronomical Association, which stated, quote, "We have therefore retained, among some others, but only as a working hypothesis, the possibility that most of the craft observed can have a non-terrestrial origin," end quote. In June 2010, an interesting story that has been built upon throughout the year came to light. The head of the Buddhist region of Kalmykia in Russia, Kirsan Ilyumzhanov, claims to have been abducted by aliens. This story made headlines when one of his opponents wanted procedures put in place to ensure that if government officials met with extraterrestrials, that they not reveal state secrets. Ilyumzhanov is also the president of the World Chess Federation, and his comments regarding his abduction, a claim which he does not shy away from, continue to make headlines. Among other international news, several headlines came out of Italy. On June 7th, Italian news covered a story about UFOs being filmed above the Vatican by 3 security guards. A week later, Mario Borghezio, an Italian member of the European Parliament, called for full disclosure of classified UFO documents. Unfortunately, his declaration did not receive enough votes to enact action. Italy made news again in late June when a story broke out about UFO and ET questions being added as options for essay questions in the maturity exam, an exam taken by high school students who wish to move on to university studies. One of the biggest stories of the year was a UFO sighting over an airport in China, causing the airport to close down and divert traffic for an hour. Alleged pictures of the sightings were posted on YouTube, and although most of the pictures were helicopters or other lights in the sky taken off the internet, major news sources used the pictures